Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh has been killed in Iran. The militant group has confirmed his death in a statement. Hamas said that Haniyeh was killed in a treacherous Zionist raid on his residence in Tehran. Haniyeh was visiting Iran for the swearing-in of the new Iranian president Masoud Pezeshkian. Early this morning, his residence in Tehran was struck, resulting in him and one of his bodyguards deaths. Meanwhile, the IRGC said that it is investigating the circumstances of the incident. Israel has claimed to have killed Hezbollah's most senior military commander, Fuad Shukr. It is in its strike on southern suburb of Lebanon's capital, Beirut. The IDF said that Shukr was the right-hand man to Hassan Nasrallah. Further, Israel added that it isn't looking for a war but is prepared for it. As per reports, at least 2 children and a woman were killed in the strike and at least 74 people were injured. Meanwhile, Hezbollah and Lebanese authorities have not yet confirmed the death. According to media reports, Lebanese government officials and Hezbollah sources saying that Shukr survived the attack. The Iranian embassy in Lebanon has denounced the Israeli strike on Beirut. It has called it cowardly and sinful Israeli aggression that has claimed the lives of a number of martyrs. The Iran-backed Houthis and Hamas militant groups have also condemned the strike and declared solidarity with Lebanon. Meanwhile, UN Special Coordinator expressed concern over the strike, saying there is no such thing as a military solution. In a statement, she has called on both Israel and Lebanon to explore all diplomatic avenues to return to the cessation of hostilities. The United States has backed Israel following its attacks on Beirut, killing Hezbollah senior commander Fuad Shukr. Washington has asserted that its commitment to Israel's security is ironclad and unwavering against all Iran-backed threats, including Hezbollah. The United States says Shukr played a central role in the 1983 bombing of U.S. Marine barracks in Beirut, which killed 241 U.S. military personnel. According to the U.S. government's Rewards for Justice website, a bounty of up to $5 million was put on his head. The United States carried out a strike in Iraq. The United States claimed the strike targeted militants who were planning to launch drones. Officials said the action underscores Washington's commitment to the safety and security of its personnel. The attack hit a base south of Baghdad used by Iraq's popular mobilization forces. As per Iraqi police, the strike killed 4 members of the group and 4 others were wounded. Iraq has witnessed tit-for-tat attacks since the Israel-Hamas war erupted in October, but this was the first strike by American forces in Iraq since February. Thousands of people have taken to the streets in Venezuela to protest against what they call President Nicolas Maduro's fraudulent election win. Reports suggest that at least 11 people have died in the clashes. According to Venezuelan authorities, at least 749 people have been detained amid recent protests. The detainees are being charged with offences such as public intimidation, incitement to hatred, and more severe cases, terrorism. Russia launches overnight drone attack on Ukrainian capital of Kyiv and its surrounding area. According to reports, the blasts heard in what sounded like air defense systems engaged in repelling an air attack. Ukraine's military said that the air defense systems have been deployed in the region leading into Kyiv. Meanwhile, air raid alerts were sounded off across Kyiv and major parts of Ukraine. The Russian forces claim to have made significant advances in eastern Donetsk region of Ukraine. The Russian military claims to have captured Volchar settlement in eastern Donetsk region. It has targeted personnel and equipment in 127 regions, resulting in the destruction of a Ukrainian Su-25 fighter jet. Though Russia's forces have gained ground in recent months, neither Russian or Ukrainian forces have managed to swing the conflict in their favor. The escalation comes as the United States announced a much-needed lifeline for the Ukrainian forces. Violent confrontations erupted between the demonstrators and law enforcement agencies near a mosque in Southport. This comes after a stabbing incident killed 3 children and injured 5 others during a Taylor Swift-themed event on Monday. The demonstrators hurled bottles and stones at the police officers. Officials believe that the demonstrators are linked to the English Defence League, which is an extreme right-wing group. They also added that the attack was not linked to terrorism and that the suspect was born in the UK. The acting director of U.S. Secret Service, Ronald Rose, said that he was ashamed of the attempted assassination on Donald Trump. He also agreed to the major security lapses that preceded the July 13th rally shooting in a joint Senate committee hearing. Rose testified before 2 Senate committees and said that he visited the outdoor rally site in Butler and reviewed the site. Senate lawmakers are grilling the law enforcement officials about lapses in the hours before the assassination attempt of Donald Trump. Amid the increasing terror attacks in India's Kashmir Valley, heritage houses belonging to Kashmiri minority Hindu community were set on fire. The fire has raised suspicions and it's caused concerns among the community. Some are alleging that the blaze was caused to threaten the community. The Jammu and Kashmir police have registered a case. They are also investigating the cause of the inferno. Meanwhile, the forensic teams have taken the samples and an FIR has also been registered. At least 151 people have died in landslides that hit Kerala's hilly Wayanad district in India. According to the Kerala Health Minister Veena George, the post-mortem of 116 bodies has been completed. As of now, 481 people have been successfully rescued and 3,069 have been shifted to relief camps in Wayanad alone. The injured have been receiving treatment at various hospitals in Wayanad. Efforts are underway to locate missing people. Meanwhile, the India Met Department has predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall that is likely to occur in isolated places in Kerala on the 31st of July and the 1st of August. The Weather Department has predicted heavy rainfall for the 2nd of August. Wildfires continue to ravage California, scorching over 2,700 acres of land. According to authorities, firefighters battling the blaze were finding it difficult to contain the fire, owing to the region's tough terrain. The wildfire spread rapidly due to dry conditions and strong winds. Further visibility has also been severely affected. Following this, evacuation orders were issued for communities living in the nearby regions. After a year of claiming his multi-billion-dollar wager on Bank of America was a good investment, Warren Buffett is selling off a portion of it. This month, Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway announced its 3rd share sale, reducing its huge, lucrative holding in the lender by over $3 billion. A regulatory statement shows Hathaway sold $767 million worth of stock between July 25th and 29th. Berkshire's holding is now down 6.9%. Hathaway has been the leading stakeholder in the bank since 2011. Nevertheless, Buffett still owns 962 million shares, which at Tuesday's closing price are worth nearly $40 billion. The Eurozone was able to shrug off Germany's unexpected downturn and post stronger than expected growth driven by strong numbers in other member states. Eurozone's GDP expanded at 0.3% in the June quarter, sustaining the same pace at the start of the year. France and Spain surpassed expectations, while Italy maintained steady growth and offset Germany's 0.1% contraction. The region's varied growth outcomes are a prime example of the difficulty the European Central Bank faces. Policymakers need to assess whether the Eurozone economy is weak enough to warrant another interest rate cut in September. Rising costs in Japan threaten to squeeze small firms to extinction. They need to find a way to raise the prices of their offerings. Many smaller Japanese businesses aren't sure what to do because of decades of deflation. Firms in Japan are now taking classes to learn to deal with inflation. The classes now center on the potential consequences of Japan's economic future. Small firms, which constitute 90% of the country's businesses, are struggling with a new phenomenon: inflation. A jump in gold prices had put China's biggest jewelry retailer at risk of lengthy share drop by squeezing its returns and curbing demand. July saw a 15% decline in Chow Tai Fook Jewelry Group shares, putting the company on track for its worst monthly loss since 2013. The jeweler is poised for a rough ride, further as the price of gold is predicted to reach new all-time highs. Sales of Chow Tai Fook in mainland China fell 26% in the June quarter, marking the slowest rate in nearly 8 years. A spike in the price of gold weighed on demand for jewelry among price-conscious Chinese consumers. Setting off the prices over the past year, the bullion price has increased by 16%, reaching $2,381 per ounce. Indian officials, in a surprise move, have decided to limit foreign ownership of certain freshly issued bonds. This shows officials are becoming increasingly worried about the billions of dollars in hot money pouring into the country since its debt was included in a prominent global index. Newly issued Indian government bonds with tenures of 14 to 30 years will no longer be fully accessible to overseas investors. The Reserve Bank of India made the announcement without providing an explanation, but the modification is now in place. The authorities' goal is to increase the curve's flexibility by concentrating demand on the front end or shorter-term bonds. Meta Platforms will be paying $1.4 billion to the United States state of Texas to settle a lawsuit. The lawsuit accuses the company of unlawfully gathering biometric data from millions of Texans via facial recognition technology without their consent. The settlement is the largest ever by a single U.S. state. The 2022 lawsuit is the first major case under Texas's 2009 biometric privacy law. The law allows for damages of up to $25,000 per violation. According to a recent report, Delta Air Lines is planning to seek compensation from Microsoft and CrowdStrike after a global IT outage disrupted flights earlier this month. However, a CrowdStrike spokesperson said they're aware of the reports but have no knowledge of a lawsuit. On the 19th of July, a tech failure led to over 2,200 flight cancellations in the U.S. Delta. The lowest major U.S. carrier to recover has cancelled more than 6,000 flights, stranding hundreds of thousands of passengers. Analysts estimate the financial impact could be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Russia is planning to initiate its first international cryptocurrency payments by the end of the year as a way to circumvent Western sanctions. These sanctions have led to significant delays in transactions with key trading partners. To address the issue, the lower house of the parliament is expected to pass a law that will permit Russian companies to use cryptocurrencies for international transactions. This new legislation aims to mitigate the delays and challenges posed by the current restrictions on using cryptocurrencies for payments within Russia. This is VERU. This is a vacuum cleaner-equipped robot dog designed by the Italian Institute of Technology. The robot uses AI and camera systems to detect and collect cigarette butts from the ground with vacuum attachments on each foot. The robot's algorithm enables it to identify its targets in its surroundings. As per its makers, the robot has successfully managed to gather about 90% of cigarette butts in various environments. For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.